And hello YouTube, this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'm here to a brand new video for Gaming with GS, and today we're going to take a look at Guild Wars 2 and some of the new content that has been released, such as the new Legendary Armor trailer, which showcases the heavy armor set, which I'll go over and talk a little bit about later in the video. I also want to go over some new PvP maps that could possibly be coming into the game. That Shaman has done some data mining, and we do have some new footage of a possible new PvP map, several possible new maps, as well as some images and map layouts that I'll have some screenshots of later in the video as well. I want to talk a little bit about some of the PvP Season 5 changes that are going to be coming next season. There's some pretty big changes that can affect a lot of people. However, I will leave that to the end of the video since I know some of you are not really interested in PvP. So if you are interested in PvP, just skip towards the end of the video because that's going to be the last thing that I'm going to be talking about. And I also want to go over some of the things I forgot to go over in the last video about the last patch concerning Halloween, concerning some of the guild hall decorations, and some other things that were in the patch that I did not mention, such as some balanced things regarding War vs. World, regarding raids, PvE, and PvP. And perhaps even talk a little bit about skill splitting, which Arena is finally stepping towards that direction. Before we go into any of these topics, I do want to quickly mention that the labyrinth has been fixed. There is no longer diminishing returns, no more DR. Developers have come out and said that they've taken that away and that it should be a bit more enjoyable now. So that's been fixed. So any of you who haven't done the labyrinth because you saw the last video on Halloween, I was complaining about it. A lot of people were complaining about it. Well, I would suggest going into labyrinth again because you can farm now for trick-or-treat bags without having to deal with diminishing returns. I'm definitely going to be farming some labyrinth later on today to get some trick-or-treat bags. Hopefully the price won't go too down. Hopefully there's enough incentive for people to buy trick-or-treat bags, and we can still make some money. Aside from that, the Lich in the Labyrinth has also been fixed. Apparently, he was a bit weaker this year. It may be because it was bugged. It may be because elite specializations are pretty powerful. But they've basically fixed the Lich to be a bit more powerful, and they fixed the bug where he's summoning minions again, and he should be as difficult as he was last year again. I have not fought him yet, though, so I'm not sure if he has become more difficult or not. But developers have said they've fixed some bugs with the Lich. I also did mention last video that there are several new guild hall decorations which look pretty cool. Now when Super Adventure Box came around, we had some new guild hall decorations that were kind of like structures. We had ramps, we had some floors, some walls, some hills and stuff like that. And you could basically create some brand new platforms and rooms even focused around that theme, Super Adventure Box. Last year Halloween we had little pumpkins with small decorations like pumpkins and stuff like that, jack-o'-lanterns and decorations of that sort and scarecrows and whatnot. But this year for Halloween they didn't add any new structures like a lot of people would have expected since those were very popular and very successful in Super Adventure Box. And they also didn't add many small decorations. Instead, they added some pretty big decorations. They did add 2 statues. They added a mausoleum. They've added Mad Moon, which looks really cool. And they've added a hanging tree. You should see screenshots of these decorations on screen right now. Be aware that these new decorations can only be crafted through the scribe station. They do require you to be level 150. Some of them require you to be level 300. And you do need some materials for them. So you cannot buy these with any currencies. You have to craft these through scribing. So if you are interested in crafting these, you are interested in decorating your guild hall with some of the new Halloween stuff, ensure that you are at that level of scribing. The wiki will have the exact level and the items that you need to craft them. You can check the wiki for each of those items individually. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over for Halloween real quick, because those were some additions that I forgot to mention in the last video, as well as some fixes that I thought were important to mention as well. So now I want to go over quickly some of the balance changes that were made this patch. Now this patch is pretty famous because a lot of people are criticizing it, a lot of people will hate it, some people are okay with it. Essentially though, long story short, before this patch, we had a problem with boons. In War vs. World especially, you would have Zergs having a ton of uptime on boons. You would have Zergs who had 3-4 minutes of swiftness, 3-4 minutes of regeneration, protection, stuff like that. Some of these Zergs had a constant uptime of certain boons and buffs. So what did Arena do? They basically nerfed boon duration. The only problem is that now, since War vs. World is fixed, there won't be any of these problems where boon duration is so high, where Zergs are having constant uptime of boons. Now the problem is this has affected PvP and raids specifically. Now some build comps, some comps of different classes are not viable anymore. Now pretty much the most viable comp that every serious raid group is running is a mirror comp, where you would have 2 of each desired class. And this really hurts build diversity. It really hurts class diversity for making raid teams. And this is why a lot of people are criticizing it, because ArenaNet more and more so now need to do skill splitting, where certain skills and certain mechanics are different in PvP compared to World vs. World and PvE. Now, whether the technology is there, it's obvious that it is there, because along with this patch, with that balance change, they've also made some additional changes to condition damage. I did read that Necro condition damage got nerfed a little bit. I don't play condition damage Necro enough to know that's true. But what I have noticed is that several skills across the different classes have been buffed PvP only, though. For example, the Ice Bow, one of the skills, does double damage now for Elementalists, but only in PvP. One of the heal skills for a Ranger has a different cooldown time, but only for PvP. Several cooldown timers have been changed for different skills, different classes, but once again, only in PvP. So it seems like the technology to skill split between different game modes is there. So then why are we running into this problem where boon duration is now affecting raids in a negative way and positively now in the World vs. World way? Well, I'm not really sure why that's happening. It maybe is because Arena didn't fully think through this decision. Maybe they don't know their game well enough, how some changes can affect different game modes. Maybe they need some more time to think through what they're doing and really iterate through all the possible scenarios and, just try to make sure that every game mode is balanced. What I've seen a lot of people say, and I can definitely agree with, being on the balance team is probably one of the hardest jobs at ArenaNet, because you really have to make sure that the game mode and the play style of different classes doesn't become broken or doesn't become non-viable anymore for a specific game mode, because that can be pretty damaging. So I appreciate their effort to move in a direction to skill split, but I think this needs to have a lot more attention to detail. This needs to be thought through a bit more, and this does need to be iterated through a bit more so that we don't have problems like this where raids are being affected negatively and World vs. World is being fixed, and we have this huge debate where a lot of people are just complaining and saying Arena doesn't know what they're doing, and a lot of people are saying, well, we'll just skill split everything, have some parameters and some rules for skills in PvE, have different parameters and different rules for skills in PvP. Right, that's exactly what the goal is here, and they're trying to go towards that direction, but, I guess it's taking them a bit longer to figure things out, but hopefully they can get this fixed. This is just one of the things that a lot of people were heated about, had a lot of discussion on Reddit, and has potentially changed the way raids work now. So hopefully they're able to get that fixed, and maybe next patch that'll be changed. Who knows what's going to happen from here on, but I just wanted to quickly go over that balance part of the patch because it was pretty important, and I just wanted to get that out there because I did miss that in the last video. One other thing that was really important in the last patch also that I forgot to mention is that whenever you go downed now, for example, whenever someone kills you but you don't fully die, you go into down state where you're able to heal yourself and we're able to do some damage before you actually completely die, you will no longer become invulnerable now, PvP only though. You know how in PvE where when you get downed for like a half a second or for a second, you are invulnerable. Every piece of damage that goes towards you in that time frame is nullified. You'll get 0 damage. Well, in PvP, the same thing was happening. And this is why some builds were not very viable. Some sigils and runes were not viable. This is why some elite traits, specifically the Daredevil elite trait, one of their elites was kind of broken because it didn't fully work. Whenever a person would be downed, the damage afterwards would be nullified and it would basically make that trait useless. Well, now they've fixed that, so now whenever you get downed in PvP, you'll actually take all the damage that comes afterwards. You won't be invulnerable for that small time frame anymore. It is a small change, but it has a huge impact on several classes, such as Elementalists, such as Daredevil, and such as a few other instances as well. It also seems like there have been a lot of buffs made to certain skills that do more damage now. Maybe this is because ArenaNet wants to make the PvP scene a bit more deadly, which I'm perfectly fine with because the more deadlier PvP is, I think the more fun it is, the more damage you can do, and the more you'll have to build defensively rather than just building, constant damage. But that's basically everything I wanted to go over in balance. If you want to go into detail for your class, you can definitely check the patch notes out. Each class has a set of new changes. Some of them have PvP only skill changes. Some of them have changes across the board. But that's basically all the important things I wanted to go over for balance. Now for War vs. World, I do also want to mention that cannons are now in beta. Not the cannons that are on top of the keeps and the ones that are already in game. You can now basically buy cannons that you can take anywhere and use those cannons. Now this is in beta. I think they are less effective than the ones that are mounted on top of the towers and forts in War vs. World that are already there. I think these ones are a bit less effective, but they are going to see how people react to cannons, a new type of siege. If it is working well, they're going to keep it in the game. If not, they'll take it out. But we'll have to see how War vs. World players react to this new siege. It's pretty interesting. I have not used it yet, but I'm very curious to see how effective this is. So that's pretty much everything for the last patch, for balance, for Halloween. Let's jump into the legendary armor, which is some pretty cool stuff. Now on screen, you will see a trailer of the heavy set of legendary armor. Be aware that the medium set and the light armor set is not available yet. They are still working on the medium and light armor sets for legendary armor. When they'll be done, we have no idea. But the heavy armor set is already to a point where they're able to show it off. And what it basically is a transforming armor that transforms into a different form when you go into battle. When you go into combat, the way your armor looks will change. It'll transform into something really cool. And you should see that on screen now, how these transformations are made and how it looks before and after. Now, I appreciate this cool little thing because one thing that I've always thought about is how can they make legendary armor cool? Legendary weapons are cool because they have some cool effects. They have some footstep effects. Some of them have fall damage effects. Some of them have trailing effects where they follow you when you walk forward. So how could they possibly have made legendary armor just as cool? Apparently they went through several different iterations, and this is why it took them so long to come up with a preview for this armor, and this is why it's taken them so long to get all the armors done, essentially. But they've wanted to do transformation, and I gotta say, it looks pretty freaking awesome. I would love to have this armor. I would love to see how the light armor set looks, but who knows when we're able to see that. Really excited though. One thing I do want to say though, I don't know why they didn't decide to show this off in the trailer, are these armor sets going to be different across the races? Now, we can't tell from the trailer because we don't see any Char wearing the armor. We don't see any Sylvari wearing the armor. We don't see any of that. So I really hope that the legendary armor does not have problems with clipping, because a lot of Char characters have armor sets that basically clip, and it looks really terrible. Hopefully it's not there. I also don't know why they didn't show off any dyes. Are we able to dye our legendary armor? I do know in some games, some of the legendary armor and some of the very prestigious armor you cannot dye. And I know also some items in Guild Wars 2 you cannot even dye. So I don't know if legendary armor will be dyeable, but I really hope it is, because I can already see so many cool color combinations with this transformation armor set here, and it will look pretty awesome. I don't know if they're able to do it though, but I hope you can dye these armor sets because it'll make them so much more cooler. We do know that the medium armor set for legendary armor will be another trench coat. That is the information that we have. We haven't gotten any details or leaks on what the cloth armor will look like, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So I'm pretty excited to see when legendary armor is going to be in the game, because I really want to get it. Obviously, it will be connected with raids. You do have to do raids to get this, which makes sense. Raids are hardcore content. If you want the really awesome looking legendary gear, you'll have to sort of be somewhat successful at raiding. So just a heads up for you there if you didn't know that. Now, the last thing I want to go over is PvP specifically. I will go over the PvP maps real quick because that's sort of what a lot of people are a bit more interested in. But on screen right now, you should see a fly-through of some new possible PvP areas, some new PvP maps. Now, this footage is from that shaman. He has done a fly-through of the new PvP maps, and I gotta say, these look pretty interesting. One of these new maps is a totally new arena map that has sort of like a Divinity's Reach theme to it. 3 of these other maps were previously in an old file, And these may have been recreated, or they may have been built upon. They may have finished the work there. We do know ArenaNet has had several PvP maps in the past just sitting, already done before, that have been half created, that have never been put into the game. I know that Wooden Potatoes had a series called Tyria 3D where he showed off some of the unfinished PvP maps, and there were a lot of them. In fact, he did a video on one of these maps that you're seeing on screen with different screenshots as well. So we do know that some of these may be old maps that they've created in the past, and they might have finished just now. One of these maps is very new though. When these maps will come into the game, once again, no one is sure. This is just data mining, but they look really interesting, and I'm really curious to see if they're really going to release a new PvP map every major update when a Living World season comes out. That would be really awesome, and that would really be cool, because not only is PvE benefiting from new Living World content, but PvP is also benefiting from new maps. That would be really cool. So those are the maps that we have. Like I said, they look interesting. We don't know if they're conquest maps yet. We don't know if they're going to be another game mode, but most likely they're going to be conquest maps. But hopefully you enjoyed the footage in the background and some of the screenshots. That's pretty much all I have to say. I'm not going to talk too much about these maps because we're not even sure when they're going to come. We're not even sure if they're going to come. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the changes that are going to be made for PvP Season 5. PvP Season 5 is going to be different from the other PvP seasons. Mainly because they're going to try something out that deals with solo queuing and duo queuing. Now, we did hear they want to implement leaderboards. I'm not sure if those are going to be coming in Season 5. Maybe they will. We also know that they don't like the way the division system is working right now. A lot of us feel like the division system is just a reward track. I've seen it so many times said, and I totally agree. People who are legendary in PvP are not really legendary because they're good. They're in legendary because they play so many games and they farm PvP basically as a reward track. You can get to legendary in PvP if you play a ton of games. Eventually, if you're somewhat good, somewhat decent, you can get to a very high rank. And Arena has acknowledged that. They know that the placing in the divisions isn't very accurate, and they're going to try to fix that for the next season. How they're going to do this is with solo queuing and duo queuing. Now, this is going to be in beta. This is not going to be forever. If people like it, and it seems like people like it because there was an 80%, almost an 80% vote to have this system in the game, then they're going to keep it for ranked. Now, before, you could always queue with as many players as you wanted in PvP. You could queue as 3-man, 4-man, 5-man, 2-man, or solo, right? Now, what people didn't like is that there was a possibility you can basically go in solo and then get matched against a 5-man comp. Now, as many games as I've played a heck ton of games, maybe like 2,000 or more PvP games, and I've never really come to a point where I felt like I was getting steamrolled by a 5-man team. It might have been once or twice out of the ton of games that I've played where that's happened. So the situation where this is happening is not very common. However, what is happening is that people are not liking the fact that this could happen, so they're not even playing PvP anymore. In fact, one of my friends doesn't like playing PvP because of that very reason. They don't feel like the PvP system is fair. They don't feel like ranked is very serious, and it's not, because it's more like a reward track. So why should anyone take PvP ranked serious even anymore? And as of today, many people don't really take PvP ranked serious. So they're going to try to fix that as well. And they're going to try to fix this by implementing solo queue and duo queue. Now, how is all this going to be fixed by implementing the system? Well, for one, it's going to be eliminating a roadblock. People who felt like ranked in PvP is not serious because it's more like a reward track, because the divisions aren't very accurate, because I can possibly get matched against a 5-man. I don't want that to happen. Well, now with solo queue and duo queue, that problem won't be there. People can't cheat their way up to a high rank in legendary or diamond just because they're playing with a 5-man team constantly. That won't be there anymore. Everyone who gets legendary, diamond, or whatever rank they get to is going to be based off of their own skills, or maybe based off of their skills and a partner. So that sort of makes the division placing a bit more accurate. It also eliminates the fact that you could possibly be getting a 5-man team going against a solo or duo queue. They're not going to be having team queue in Season 5. So people who have an established team already most teams are doing custom arenas or doing unranked or creating their own tournaments. So arenas basically leaving that alone. Those teams can do their own thing in custom arenas, in unranked, or in the guild halls even. They can create their own competitions there. They're going to have Season 5 open for only solo queue and duo queue, so that over the course of time, as people are solo queuing and duo queuing and earning their placements and getting to the rank that they deserve a bit more accurately than the last 4 seasons, where people can just cheat their way up by joining a team and steamrolling other teams. Some people are in TeamSpeak. They can very easily kill a team that isn't in TeamSpeak, and doesn't have a 5-man team. You can easily just zerg them down and farm these guys to win the game. So a lot of these problems are being fixed through duo queue and solo queue. And over the course of Season 5, maybe there's going to be a lot of duo queues that will end up being friends and constantly duo queue. And maybe in Season 6, they'll bring back team queuing, so that then people can actually do proper team queuing with a bunch of these duo queues, and the proper placement divisions are also correct. So the whole idea behind this is to make the environment a bit more competitive, to make ranked a bit more serious, and to allow the proper formation of teams through solo queue and duo queue only. Now, whether this system will work, personally, I've never really had that big of a gripe with the PvP system. I've never really had a problem where I've gone up against a 5-man team. I've never really been discouraged to play PvP because of that reason. But I guess some people have, and that's why Arena is doing this. And in general, it's only supposed to help the game mode. So I'm not going to complain about it. If it's going to help the game mode, then I'm all for it. And it seems like everyone else is all for it as well. So PvP Season 5, you'll only be able to solo queue and duo queue. And whatever happens from PvP Season 6 will probably be determined on how Season 5 goes based on those restrictions. Those are the changes that are coming for Season 5. Like I said, I don't PvP that much anymore. Mainly because I guess I'm victim to one of those people who thinks that it's not really skill based anymore. It's more war track based. Maybe I'll give it another shot. Maybe I'll play a bit more now in Season 5. But we'll have to see how things go, and we'll have to see how people react to this new system. But hopefully a positive result comes from it. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over for this video today. I just wanted to go over the Legendary Armor, the balance changes for the last patch, some of the Halloween things that I missed, the PvP maps, and the changes that are coming to PvP Season 5. Hopefully you found the information helpful. Hopefully you found it informative. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to talk about anything we went over in this video today, leave a comment down below in the comments section. I'd love to talk to you guys, answer any questions you have. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and subscribe. Plenty of other Guild Wars 2 content on the channel. Lots of other guides, gold guides, discussions about the patch, updates, current event guides. We have lots of cool videos on the channel related to Guild Wars 2, related to gaming in general. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you on board. If you'd like to donate $1 to my Patreon page, you can do so. Click the card in the top right corner of the screen, and it'll bring you to the page. If you want to check out my vlogging channel, the music channel, the advice channel, the tutorials channel, click the links in the description as well as on the end card. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching as always. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. This is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.